how are you? Okay, we are going to look at part 2 of the Idiot's Guide to Positive Dog Training. Now, the first session, which was very, very popular, was how to stop a dog from jumping up, where obviously, if I can recap on it, you had to teach a dog to jump up to stop the dog from jumping up. You had to be a tree stump, but not a dead tree stump, and you had to turn around, let the dog scratch the living hell out of you before you say sit, sit, sit. Then you had to teach a dog to sit and drop, trip over your guests when they walk in, and run away from them to their cage. Now, that is as clear as anything. So today, they've dedicated an entire chapter, chapter 13, to loose leash walking. So we are going to go through this chapter so you can teach your dog yourself how to get your dog to walk on a loose lead. Okay, so we'll start off. But I love choking myself. Why dogs pull? You want to peacefully walk your dog, but your dog all of a sudden picks up a scent and takes off at warp speed. Your walks have become a nightmare, and you almost wish you could untrain his house training, because cleaning up his messes on the carpet would be easier than walking him. I'm sorry, darling. I don't want to take the dog for a walk today. I'd rather stay home and just clean up his dog shit off the shag pile. Seems to be a lot easier than taking the dog for a walk. My God. Okay, here we go. You sweat. You yank back. In desperation, you use a choke or prong collar. You curse and scream. Finally, you declare that your dog is stubborn, stupid, willful, disobedient, and even dominant. What has actually happened is that you've systematically trained your dog to pull on a leash. Congratulations, you did it. How the hell did I do that? You've learned how to activate his opposition reflex. And you taught him that to get where he wants to go, he has to pull you down the street. Okay, I just want to know what this opposition reflex is. Okay. Here we go. Why they pull on a lead. Because we follow. Congratulations, Einstein. If we were ahead, then he wouldn't be pulling and we wouldn't need to teach him to heel. The number one reason why dogs pull on a leash is because we follow. Behaviour is reward driven. If choking himself gets what he wants, he'll move forward in any direction he chooses. Then guess what? He's going to continue to pull. Okay. The number two reason why dogs pull on leash is to get to the other side. What? The outside world is an exciting and wonderful smelly place for a dog. It's a smorgasbord of scent. Okay, well that's number 2 reason. And part 2 of number 2 is getting to the other side. The dog has completely forgotten that you exist, and we are no more important than a speck of dust. There are many reasons for this seemingly lack of respect. Most people train their dogs in the living room and never take it on the road. Then they're shocked and dismayed that their dog blows them off once outside. I'm going to have to Google that one, because they're talking about waiting for the dog to get off when they're jumping up, and now it's blowing them off once outside. Okay, so forget about that. We'll just move on. Okay, the opposition reflex. An indication of what the opposition reflex. I've never heard of this before in a dog. The number 3 reason why a dog pulls on the leash, because we activate their opposition reflex, which causes them to pull against anything that pulls against them. I still don't know what an opposition reflex is. Anyway, building the outdoor relationship. The first step to loose leash walking is building a relationship outdoors. This isn't hard, but it does take some forethought. You have to teach your dog that there is no such thing as a free lunch. But this is a positive training book. God. Okay. Attention, please. Step-by-step instructions. Take your dog's daily ration of food and put it in your pockets or pouch and go outside. So that's 2 cups of biscuits and half a tin of bloody canned dog food in your pockets. Work on eye contact, name recognition, and sits and downs. So we're teaching sits and downs now, but we just want to teach the dog to walk beside you. So you've got to work on eye contact and name recognition. I think most dogs by now would know their own name. Okay, if Number 3, if your dog is too stimulated by your yard, just wait. Bring a book if you have to and just sit on the porch. Whenever he gives you some type of attention, just reward it. Number 4, if after about 10 minutes he still hasn't noticed that you exist, put him back in the house and in his crate for a few minutes and try again later. I think if you walk out there with a kilo of dog food in your pockets, he's going to know that you exist. Continue to do this for a few days, feed him for attention and simple behaviours. Now move to a new location and start all over again, waiting patiently for attention and simple behaviours. Every few days, move to a new location and repeat all preceding steps. I am going to have to go through about 10 pairs of pants. I think I'll have to do it in my jocks. I won't have any pants left because they're all going to be filled with bloody dog food. The dog has to know that you aren't a dead tree stump. Oh, for God's sake, not again. The dead tree stump thing's back again. So the dog mustn't know you're a dead tree stump, but if the dog jumps on you, he thinks you're a tree stump. So if the dog's jumping, he thinks you're a tree stump, and you've got to say, Reba, I am not a dead tree stump. And that's how you do it, okay? You've got to tell him. He knows his name and say, I'm not a dead tree stump. Right. After about 2 weeks of practicing in about 5 to 7 spots, you'll be ready to start training for loose leash walking. Thank God for that. So we're ready to start things. Okay, now how did we get the dog to walk on a loose lead after all that? Follow these steps. Get your dog's attention and take a few steps backwards. Click and treat the dog if he follows you. You're not looking for eye contact yet, you just want him to follow you. So you're walking backwards for the dog to follow you. Don't lure your dog with cookies. Have your hands down by your side. If the dog mugs your hands, put them behind your back. So they're saying to walk with the dog following you and treat him. Now they're saying don't treat him, and if the dog mugs your hands because he thinks he's got food, you don't treat him, put him behind your back. So they're saying feed the dog, don't feed the dog. I'm interested to see what step number 3 is. Take a few more steps back and click and treat every few steps. Do you want to treat the dog or not? Number 4. Gradually increase the amount of steps you take back before clicking and treating. Now you can ask for eye contact. So this is very, very clear. You don't treat the dog, you treat the dog, you don't treat the dog, you treat the dog, and then you make the dog wait for a treat. Got it? And now you ask for eye contact. Now, that's one thing I didn't tell you is how do you ask for eye contact? Okay, now, arm yourself with wads of yummy treats and follow these steps. Give your dog one treat. Walk away. Don't use any verbal cues or commands with this game. You want your dog to stay with you because he wants to, not because you're forcing him to do so with a leash or consistently prodding him verbally. If your dog follows you, feed him treats and pet and praise him for a full 20 seconds. If your dog comes towards you but charges on ahead, turn around and walk away from him. This is where you don't want to look at his butt. The name of the game is called Follow the Leader, and he isn't the leader, you are. I thought we're teaching the dog to walk beside you. Now it's like he's pulling ahead and now you want you to go ahead and you're the leader, but we just want the dog to walk here, not out there or back there. Okay, right, we'll go on. Start walking, encouraging the dog verbally to follow. If the dog pulls, that's your cue to stop any forward movement. If the dog relaxes, he's pulling or looks back at you, call the dog to you, take a few steps and reward the dog with a treat. The dog may pull again, so get ready to stop. Repeat 1 billion times. Actually, after about 10 minutes, the dog usually starts to pull less. Of course he's going to pull less after 10 minutes because he's absolutely buggered and he's got 2 kilos of bloody pet food in his gut. If you want to go down and curl up and go to sleep under a tree. Right, okay. Use the sniffing as a reward for walking nicely by your side. Fantastic, so here it is. Get a few steps of loose leash walking, perhaps starting in a parking lot. Let's make it easy for the dog to succeed. Okay, then run over to some grass and while you point to the ground, say, go sniff. So walking the dog in the park, he'll walk beside you if he's in a car park. And anyway, I'm not even going to comprehend this. Walk over the grass and point to it and say, go sniff. Then let him have a penny's worth of sniffing, then verbally encourage him without using the leash or dragging him or luring him with food or toys for the first few times to come back to you. So you just use his name. You can't use toys, can't use food, can't do anything, just say his name, and he's not going to want to come back to you because he's too busy sniffing that sexy, skanky bitch that lives at number 5. Okay, right. Next one. Heavily reward his recall, even if at first it wasn't prompt. Do a few more steps of loose lead walking and reward again with some sniffing. Right, and that's it. That was very clear, wasn't it? That is the complete idiot's guide to how to stop your, actually how to get a dog to not pull on the lead, but to walk beside you in the heel position. That was completely clear, and that was an entire chapter on how to do it. Anyway, I'll be back soon with part 3 of the Pure Positive Guide to, or the Pure Idiot's Guide to Positive Dog Training. I'm Gary Jackson. See you next time.